break there, I was asking you about the age of the kids that you've been working with.
So the age of the kids that I was working with in Campbelltown, this time it was roughly between 11 and 12 up to kind of like 15, maybe 16.
Yeah. And it's just boys, or is it a mix?
This particular group that I was working with in terms of the martial arts group, that was just boys. I delivered 2 talks to the whole school, to 2 kind of halves. That was boys and girls. I do work with girls as well, but this particular group, it was all kind of young teenage boys who liked to fight and had the undesirable behaviours of what the school scene is undesirable, and I totally get that, because you obviously don't want them fighting in corridors or showing people disrespect.
No, you come to a place like this to fight, you know. You come in a martial arts gym to fight. That's the natural, or the kind of acceptable way to get that desire to be in physical combat out of your system. Yep,
and obviously there is one thing that I should probably bring up as well, and it is quite important. Is, I don't know if unfortunately maybe it is unfortunate, maybe it's a fortunate position for me. A lot of the kids and young guys that I work with respect violence. Like, they respect it. Like, they respect if you can take them in a fight. Like, but it's a really primitive thing. Like, we all do it to a degree. It's like you're naturally aware of your surroundings, and you're aware that if someone could physically take you in a fight, like I know, like Jordan Peterson spoke about it with the lobster chat and stuff like that as well. But that is there. It's a real thing, especially with young guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you learn what standards to measure yourself. We did I think the last podcast was about values,
yeah.
And it reminds me of this idea that we learn what standards to subject ourselves to, or judge ourselves by, or measure ourselves by. We learn standards. You're not born with standards. You're born with instincts, and you're born with basic wiring, you could say, but standards you have to learn. So we learn that through culture, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, very few kids are brought up with or learn to appreciate themselves because of their ability to discern one wine from another, say, right? So
is that like Buckfast or like Rosy
well,
wine?
exactly. So one of the basic tools they're going to have to measure themselves is their physical prowess.
Yep.
Or their ability to get a reaction out of somebody else. Very basic physiological ways of measuring themselves. So I think physical conflict and physical boundaries is going to emerge from that really quickly. If you've got nothing else to...
If you don't have the other tools there, it's like, what else are you going to measure yourself on? Like, it's you're limited. And do you know what? It's interesting you mention this as well, because the talk I done actually touched on that. And I know everybody likes to do the chat about the rats in impoverished environment and the rats in a nurtured environment, and there was the studies done, stuff like that. It's been done a few times actually. Don't know how many times it's been done, but I've done the one that was like from the 1970s, and it was showing like the brain development of a rat that's just locked in a cage itself. It's on its own, it can't interact with other rats, and obviously done one with the introduced cocaine to that rat as well, and the rat was using the drugs, and then they'd done one in a more nurtured environment. There was other rats, and they had all these toys, and you know, it's like the when the rats died, the size of the brain was different, and it was more like kind of neural pathways and stuff like that. But it's kind of like, obviously when you look at that, it's like when you're exposed to all the kind of nurtured environment, I'm a great believer that you have more kind of tools at your disposal, whether the nurture's education, whether the nurture's love and care, whether the nurture's the other environmental factors, like nature for me was a big one. It's like, I do think you're going to have like a cognitive advantage to a degree there, as well. And I'm talking from my point of view, and this is what I said in the talk. I was the rat from the the impoverished environment, because I was brought up in Drum Chapel and Yoker and stuff. That I was shown pictures of where I was brought up. It was unnatural. It was quite deprived. There was a lot of poverty, mental health issues, a lot of trauma, a lot of violence, a lot of aggression, and in these environments, I do think that you're limited for answers. So it's like, right, well, I'm going to go to aggression. I'm going to go to, right, can I take you in a fight? Like, that's what you're going to go to. It's like, because it's learn how to fight and be strong or survive. And it's probably quite a primitive thing, I would say.
I'm just thinking the extreme of that we've talked about before, the extreme of that kind of context to the other alternative. Is it an alternative context? I don't know, maybe the three of us can work it out. I'm thinking of the kids that they're not getting out at all. They're not getting out to... I almost wish some kids would go out and like make a nuisance of yourself, go and vandalise a phone box. But instead of doing that, they're at home playing on their phones and being influenced by... You know, the work that you do, what's interesting is they get to test things in real time. Mm-hmm. You know, you can talk big, but you'll soon test, you know, how appropriate it is. Whereas you can claim anything we've said before. You can claim anything you want on social media. You can be influenced by images from people you've never heard of that claim a thing. Mark, you've got some views on this. Tell us.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think we covered them on the social media influencers episode. We did. I'm not really too sure where we would go with this, but it is the difference between a child going out and experiencing something. So whether it's aggression in the street or whether it's learning in a gym versus sitting at home looking at a virtual world that doesn't actually teach them anything testable.
Well, you're not even engaging all your senses, and it's not real. It's like, I do think there's obviously just now there's a time and a place for technology. It's growing at such a fast rate. It's actually a problem that's feeding into the work that I do. In fact, from a personal point of view, the problem that I've got is like, it's becoming a big part of the work that I do. Obviously, from my point of view, that's given me a lot of kind of work, there's a demand for it. And some of the issues that we spoke about, the behavioural issues, they can stem from like sitting in a room playing a computer game every day for hours and hours, because the only kind of touch you're engaging is your fingers, and then there's like the adrenaline getting released from the competitive
and the
point
dopamine rewards they're only getting from...
Yeah, so that's where obviously it can become addictive as well. There's so many things, and then there's not the physical outlet in the real world. It's like you're getting... The way I like to explain this is, if you imagine like going back in time not too long ago, it's like you're getting all these releases of chemicals and hormones. It's like you're out hunting, or you're out doing physical things, you're out climbing trees, you're out and about and you're doing all these things, but only really in the past, I don't know, let's even say in my lifetime, even when I was younger, I was out and about playing, like, let's say even in the last kind of 20 years as such, when technology...
The rise of the internet, I guess, is the big changer, right?
That's it, exactly. So, pun intended there, obviously. But like, there's no physical action with that. It's like you're getting all this release, and then you're just sitting there, and it's like okay, like where does that go now?
The chemicals have got to do something in your body, and there's got to be that release. So that's when they go mad and they smash up the controller or the keyboard, or they go out later on with their friends and they've still got that pent up adrenaline and all the rest of it, and anger that they got snaked on Fortnite. And
they're in school, and it's like they're tired as well because they've been up playing computer games all night, and it's like they're sitting there and it's like just blow up. Like, so that is something that actually I've factored that into my training system. Like, I've factored this in as like getting them out, getting exposure to nature. I'm starting to include nature-based programs. Nurture through nature is like getting them out. Like, I was working with a wee boy 2 days ago, and he's had a really tough time. He's in care and stuff like that. Like, lovely wee boy, really, really young. Obviously, I need to be careful with details, quite sensitive in nature. So, but like, I was just like, with his foster care, I was like, Mum will take him down to the Nature's Wood and just get him to climb trees. And I was like, go and climb that tree. And I'm like, right, okay, let's go on that swing. Like, getting him involved in all these activities. Fall, right, get back up then, that's cool. And you know what? He was like, he flourished. He totally flourished in that environment. He did, and he's still young. That's a good thing. He's got to his advantage, but it does become more difficult as they get older as well. And it's something I done with my own son. I was like, we had this issue with the computer game thing where he was playing computer games, and I ended up at one point. I took a kind of zero tolerance policy on it. I went, I'm taking it off you. I was like, right, Mum, we're going outside. I was like, go and climb that tree. And he's like, right, okay. We're going camping. Like, went out in the woods, like proper out in the sticks. Like, tent up, like, nearest access point to water is like a 30-40 minute walk. Need to carry the water there. He actually broke his ankle, and I had to carry him. I had to carry him for like...
We can cut that bit, right?
Aye, he broke his ankle. So
that's doing a heel hook and like that on him, though.
I don't know. I might have been. I think he was getting cheeky.
An ankle? Is it? It's not a heel hook.
I get a heel hook and an ankle lock. No, but he was breaking wood for a fire, and he went over on it. But hey, do you know what? Like, it was a tough experience for him. Tough experience for me.
No, all joking aside.
And it wasn't a negative experience. It was an experience. It's like, these things happen.
Well, you can tell his pals, how'd you break your ankle?
Aye.
Chopping wood.
Exactly.
Yeah, brilliant.
That's a cool story.
Oh, seriously, if you hurt yourself, that's one thing. If you've got nothing to show for it, but if you've broke something, now you've got a badge of honour. The other connection I was making there is, in my industry, in training, leadership development, there was a kind of fad for a while back. You don't see so much of it now. Where they used to get folk in outward bound courses, getting the managers throwing tyres over fences and fire walking and things like that. And I checked a lot of that stuff out to see what merit was in it. I realised that I can get a lot of great results without having to do that stuff, and also it can be distracting, and that if you don't make the link between the experiences and what they're trying to learn, the practical application, then there's not a lot of value in it. But what you're doing with kids is you're creating an experiential learning that can be applied in everyday life. And I guess what I'm reaching for is because a lot of our viewers are interested in sort of the business point of view, and maybe entrepreneurs we've talked about before. So I'm wondering, how can, what lessons are there in this for business, do we think? And I'm asking you as well, because what's interesting is you've got a successful business going here as well. What connections do you make between your success in martial arts and relating to the kids and what you're doing with your business?
I would say that there's many different lessons. Martial arts was a good kind of template and a good kind of for the lessons that I'd learned and applying them into business. So things like, be accountable for your actions. Like, you're going to need to put the hard work into to get the results. You are going to need to be aware of your shortcomings. You're going to need to be humble and understand that you don't know it all. And also understanding as well is like, if you don't know it, getting someone else in who does, either learning from them, usually learning from them, rather than expecting them to do it for you. And I think that's a really important thing that I learned through martial arts, because somebody can teach you something, but they can't go in there and fight someone for you. And then actually implementing it as well. I'd say control over emotions, not taking things personally, understanding we're not all perfect. Like all these kind of lessons learned through martial arts, and realising how strong you really are and how much punishment you can actually take and still come back and win. Like having that belief that even when you're losing, I was talking to one of our coaches about this the other night, Sean, he'd be a really fascinating guy to get on on here, by the way. He's
Sean, we're coming for you.
He's a Commonwealth wrestler.
No, not.
Went all American, came second in All American National Championships.
Wow.
Stuff like that. Like, and he's.
Does he get cauliflower ears?
No, he doesn't.
No. Does
So
he
he's
always
good.
wear ear protectors?
He's not
No,
met
he's
you
just
yet.
good.
It's not met you yet.
So, going back is like understanding is understanding obviously your where you can go with it and visualising the process, even when you're getting smashed. Like when somebody's absolutely smashing you on the mats and going, right, I can still win here. Like I've been in situations like that in business where my back has been against the wall and I've been cornered and I felt like I've had next to no options. Like you don't know what business is like. It's like, and sometimes life feels like that as well. It's like, but understanding there is always a way out. It's like there's a way over, there's a way under, there's a way around, and sometimes you need to push your way through as well.
Yeah.
And that's something that I understood is like, no matter how much you feel like you're getting smashed, it's like having that belief that you can get out and still win.
I'd like to ask both of you as well, your view on it. There's something that I learned in martial arts that I try and teach in the work that I do. So often in my work, people will say that, like 10 years experience as a manager, they'll say. And I like to point out there's a difference between 10 years experience and 1 year's experience 10 times. You know, you can develop an approach, but you just kind of reproduce the same successes, however great or limited, and also the same mistakes. And one of the big differences, and I learned this in martial arts, is that you have an experience. So you think about an experience before you go into it. So like if it was let's say a spar or a fight, say, you think about, what's your expectations of it? What do you think is going to happen? Prepare for it. Then you have the experience, and after the experience, you review how it went. What did I learn? What would I do differently? And the managers that I work with, I get them to do this in the workplace because there's only so many half-day workshops or one-day workshops you're going to go on, but your whole career can be what I call your jungle gym. Your whole career, that meeting that you went to can be an arena for learning about yourself. If you know how to set yourself up for the meeting, encounter the meeting, and after the meeting think, right, what happened? What did I do differently? What have I learned about meetings? But this must show up and how you're great at this stuff. I know you're self-taught at all this stuff. It must be about experimenting, trying things, failing, and having another go, right?
Watching hundreds of YouTube videos. Go to the University of YouTube. Aye. I was saying to you earlier on yesterday, I was shooting some product photography, doing it properly for the first time. I know how to use a camera, and I can take a picture of a person, no problem, but product photography is an art form, so I knew this was coming up, so I'd done a bit of research on YouTube. But of course, when you go to put anything, I could watch loads and loads of videos on how to do a rear naked choke, right? I know I could. And I've listened to Joe Rogan saying, he needs to be turning this way, to get out a rear naked choke. I know for a fact, the same as you two guys do, if you were to put me into a rear naked choke, or if I was to try and get into you one, I would feel miserable both times, because there's a difference in understanding how something's meant to work or how you're meant to do something and actually doing it. So yesterday, getting the camera set up, the light set up, taking the pictures and going, it's not quite what I thought. And then getting the images into Photoshop and trying some different techniques that I'd seen is not quite what I thought. But then by practicing it and then implementing other things that I'd learned and trying, maybe if I use this particular tool in Photoshop, etc., I eventually got it done. So there's no substitute for actually we've talked about this before, it's when the rubber hits the road. There's no substitute for when actually you're faced with a problem, tackling it head on, doing your best with it, taking a step back, looking at it again. That isn't quite working, coming at it from a different approach.
Well, there's like a lot of people will post on, failure's a good thing, and and embrace failing and all that kind of stuff, which I'm kind of on board with, right? But let me give you an alternative view, as I like to do sometimes, right? I think there's become a wee bit of a cult of failure, where they say failure's a good thing, but what they often don't point out is, no, it's not failure for failure's sake, and don't try and fail. And this idea that there is no failure, there's only feedback. No, there's failure, but then it's like, what do you make of it? You're going to fail anyway. Things are going to happen.
Failure versus fuck up.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah, for
A
sure.
fuck up is something you're like, crap. Like,
Aye.
what am I meant to do now? Failure is it's like you're 11-month-old kid learn to walk and they fall over. It's not a fuck up. It's a failure and they get back up. I think that's the difference. And there is maybe a bit of a cult of failure. But you're right, you don't fail for failing's sake. You're not going to come to an MMA gym and get choked out.
Well, your aim
unconscious
isn't.
for the
Your aim
sake
is
of
not
it.
to fail. And I say this to what you're saying all the time. I say this to my guys. What you just brought up is like, it's this whole thing. Like I seen it in these captions, and it's like you don't. It's like you. There's no losers. You only learn, and I'm like. I'll be a bit objective towards that.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, there is losers. You can lose and learn, but it doesn't. You just don't like take away the fact that there's loss there or you've lost.
Yeah.
It's like sweeping it under the carpet. It's-
And denying loss is like denying any emotion. We've talked about this before. You deny loss. It's like that's not too healthy.
It's probably a bit naive, I would say, and not healthy either. It's like it's recognise it, but not letting it like totally cripple you as well. It's like this is like, oh my god, this is terrible. It's like it's a balance, isn't it? It's like you've got like the resilience to it, where it's not going to have this big overwhelming effect on you, but understanding that hey, it's just part of life. And like I said, like I spoke to some of my friends and some of my students about this and gone, like when we're training, it's like you want to hardwire yourself to win. So you want to be like in a mentality where you want to win on the mats and not get a submissive mentality, because that becomes a habit to a degree. So when you're reinforcing that, is when you go out to actually fight, it's like, right, I'm going to win here. Being quite submissive and like not even setting out to lose, I'd say submissive's the right thing. It's like that can become a habit as well. So I'm like, you want to approach these things like not you're trying to hurt somebody, but you're trying to score the wins and win the round. So when you're actually scoring this in your head in a fight, it's like, right, am I winning here? Because there is certain things, particularly that's crept in from I'd say jiu-jitsu. It's used a lot. It's like, oh, there's no losing, there's only learning. I'm like, I get that's maybe a good thing to say to somebody, like if they're really feeling down about losing a fight and you maybe want to make them feel better. But at the same time as well, it's not really that authentic as such. It's like, wait a minute, yeah, we've lost here. We can't change that. Let's put things in place to make sure that doesn't happen again and just face it. It hurts, it's painful, we're going to bring up insecurities, but I would rather like make that not happen again. Like that's the best way to deal with it, I think.
Yeah, I posted a thing on, you'll have heard it many times before, fear is false evidence appearing real, they say. And it's like, no, it could be real evidence appearing real. It's like
that grizzly bear wandering out of the woods.
Yeah. So it's like I think there's merit in trying to reframe the meaning of things, right? But there is no substitute for learning than reality, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what
Engaging all the senses. Like
we're talking about.
We've got about 5 minutes left. So do you mind if I ask 2 quick MMA related questions? I apologise. I don't know what camera I'm actually on. I apologise. Basically, if anybody wants to stop listening now, you don't want to hear MMA stuff, that's fine. Because I'm a bit an MMA geek, I can't help. So Adesanya or Whittaker, who's taking it this weekend?
I don't know.
Oh, come on. Right, okay. Diaz and Masvidal, who'll take that one?
I always like to look at these things like logically, but as in terms of like, I don't know. I'll take a punt. I'll just say Diaz because he's been there and done it, but
he's been in wars, hasn't he?
Aye, we'll just go for Diaz.
And
I'll probably be wrong.
There are always situations where, like the top dog or where the money's on, you can get sucker punch. There's all sorts of things that can happen.
True.
Right?
True.
That was a fanboy statement there. I think Diaz, I'm going to be honest. I think Diaz will get beat, but like I'm going to back him. It's just not so much. I think that authenticity thing. He's authentic. He is. I think that's
he's
what
one
you
of the
see
most authentic
is
guys
what you get. So
in MMA.
I'm going to back him as a fan, but there's a good chance he'll get beat.
I think Masvidal needs to stop putting this hands behind his back thing. You notice that it's become a thing now after UFC London. He's got a whole thing because he's doing that, and it's like, I'm not going to hit you. But he walked up to a guy and he claimed that my hands were behind my back when I walked up to him. But he watched the video. Leon Edwards, I think it was, in the tunnel. He didn't have his hands behind his back. That's just he's annoying me a wee bit. I'd like to see a Diaz win as well.
I was just thinking, usually as we start to wrap up and we tiptoe towards this ending that we always kind of subtly do, we like to ask for feedback. We like to ask people to ask questions and comment. And
it's the first time we're guests, so I mean, this maybe folk are sick of listening to us, so there might be questions based on what our guest has said. So by all means,
and I'll be happy to answer as well.
You know, so
you keep your eye on YouTube and all that. Then.
So check out the Social Experiment podcast. Where can they find out about this?
I mean, just Google it. So we don't have an official website, so just Google Social Experiment.
We've got big plans, right?
Aye, it's further down the road. We'll get all that sort of stuff. Basically, any podcast app. You search Social Experiment Podcast, they'll find it. And if they go onto YouTube and search Social Experiment Podcast, they'll find it. And if they go onto Google and search, they will find all of our stuff.
And we've always stretched what the idea of the Social Experiment Podcast meant, and I really like the idea that we've I think we've crossed a few boundaries today with our guests and also talking about the sort of kind of social implications of your work and how you've taken martial arts into a different arena, and that I really love that idea
and that wee segment there as well when you were talking about, you know, what does martial arts teach for business? You know, that's just gold. That's going to get snapped as a clip on its own.
How can people find out about the work that you do, both in martial arts and in schools?
Just check us out on Google, newlifeglasgow.com. We're on YouTube, social networking, Facebook, stuff like that. Particularly for my work now, I'm actually developing my own website, which is just about to go live. I don't have my domain name yet, but we'll be sharing that via all our outlets. And the whole thing behind that is it's mastering the art of childhood. So that's the kind of theme that we're going with.
And you started briefly to talk about the work that you're doing. Your vision for a school. Maybe we'll get you back and we'll get you talking about that in the future.
Definitely, it's definitely one to explore. And what was the other guy's name? Sean
Keel, you just need to get him on. And Hugh as well, who he's met, he's an interesting guy, and they're both right along your kind of lines, I think. But Sean's a bit mad, right? Like, he's mad, like, but he's like...
we're not.
He's intelligent, mad, but you love him. Get him on.
David, thanks so much for joining us today.
That's really good. And
thank you.
Great setting as well.
I know. Great. So you brought your gear. Ready to go.
We're going to practice that
gum shield. Aye, absolutely. We'll do that as well. Yep, straight away.
Okay.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Cheers.